Shalom, family. It's good to see you all here. I hope you're doing well. Well, if you never heard Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife, speak, well, you're about to hear her now. And you can see, and I've seen women like this, usually it's when their husbands are in high positions. They try to use their husband's position to threaten people. And I have seen that happen before. Well, she pretty much lost a debate with Cenk Uygur, and she started raising issues about his citizenship because she didn't do so well. And this was on Piers Morgan, by the way. So it's making its rounds. It has gone viral, but you see how nasty Stephen Miller is. Well, him and Katie are definitely, let me just put it this way, him and Katie are definitely made for each other because her ass is nasty too. You can see why those two get along. So, anyway, let me go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. Please give me a one if you can see my screen. Thank you. Okay, I have the sound now. Let me share again.
Stephen Miller's wife threatened to have Cenk Uygur deported after she started to lose a debate to him. She said, "You better check your citizenship application and hope everything was filled out legally, or else you'll be like Ilhan Omar."
Hold on. So
You better
what
check your
happened
citizenship
was
application and hope everything
we
was
had all
legally
the
approved.
programs were
Just
disgusting.
like Ilhan
That
Omar
doesn't
coming
mean that you always do that. We say Israel, you say Jews. We say Israel is a government. Please don't make it about Jewish Americans. And you come back,
Is
you
Israel a
have to
Jewish
make it
state,
about
yes or
Jewish
no?
Americans. What's
Is
wrong
Israel a
with
Jewish
you?
state, yes
What's
or no?
wrong with you?
Is Israel a Jewish state, yes or no?
Wow, the Miller family cannot handle anything. They can't handle even the slightest bit of pushback.
Are Venezuelan gangs in this country or not? Yes or no?
What
Yes
are
or no?
the oh my god, they even do the same tactic. Yes or no? Answer this question. Yes or no? Yes or no? When losers are in positions of power, they will abuse that to go after people who dissent. Cenk Uygur did not attack at any point her kids or Jewish people. I have a feeling even Stephen Miller probably watched this and was like, "Oh, well, you should probably stop doing these shows, honey." That was probably his reaction. You should stop doing these shows, honey. These aren't a good look for us.
I don't know who Katie Miller is, Stephen Miller's wife. until recently, we really never heard Katie speak. She wasn't out publicly how her husband is. She wasn't leading press conferences. If she's on social media, I didn't see her tweets like how we see Laura Loomer's tweets or Marjorie Taylor Greene's tweets. She wasn't out there like that. And what I find is when the wives of these horrible men are not out here publicly repeating their husbands' talking points, saying their own crazy things, people start to create narratives of them for them that absolve them or of being complicit in this behavior. They decide that these women don't agree. They're just going along for the ride because they have kids. And they grown. I've never believed that. But if you felt that way, Katie has made it very clear the last few weeks that her and her husband, they are plotting on our demise at their kitchen table. If you hear her speak, her cadence, her talking points, it is a mirror to Stephen Miller. Like, it is very clear. They are soulmates bound together in the pits of hell, okay? So Katie, she's always been involved in the administration, I think as a political advisor. Don't get mad at me because I don't know her resume like that, nor do I care to learn it, all right? But at some point she had left, I think, was working with Elon, which is already, and then I don't know if she's still working with him, and don't put in the comments because I honestly do not care if she is. That's not the point of this story. However, she created her own podcast, right? Her own little podcast for conservatives. Not my cup, but whatever, girl, go off. And then they have pushed her now out to be a pundit. And I say they pushed her because this is clearly a strategic effort by somebody in the Miller household, her husband, her, whoever, right? And so she was on Jake Tapper on CNN, and she's on Piers Morgan. Now hear me, I don't like Piers Morgan, not one bit, but I did watch that clip. And let me tell you, them other guests ate her up with logic, with reason. They like, one of them was calling her, he's like, you're just weird. You're weird. Go find this clip, y'all. Just search her name and you'll see it. What stood out to me is that she's not meant for that back and forth. They talk about Democrats and liberals being in these like liberal bubbles. She's in a conservative bubble, and she's not used to her ideas being tested by smart people that disagree with her. You know what I mean? He called her a weirdo. He was like, what are you talking about? And he kept poking holes in her argument, and she just did not do well with being pushed or challenged. And so the other conservative on the panel is Jillian Michaels. They're trying to make fetch happen with that one. That's on my nerves. Now, remember, we was just on her tail earlier this year for trying to paint a different narrative about slavery in America, and a historically inaccurate narrative, mind you, right? We even had Nicole Hannah-Jones out here talking about that because it was so bad and so inaccurate. Even Jillian was watching her flail around looking crazy and was like this. Did not throw her a lifeline, did not say, well, nothing. Was just like, Piers Morgan, who's also known to support conservative foolery, was like, and she's like, Piers, if you're going to allow anti-Semitism on your show, he was like, what is happening here? But they called her out for doing what she claims liberals always do and throwing out the race card. Now, mind you, she also got on Jake Tapper's show and called Corinne Jean Pierre, called her a DEI hire. I know you did it. Well, who y'all got up in that White House right now, giving out press briefings? The audacity of you. So she don't lie good. Number one, she doesn't lie confidently. She got to like screaming and yelling for help from Piers, and then batting her eyes like kind of crazily to me and looking. I was like, go back to your conservative circle. You're not meant for this space. Nor do I think her husband is. He kind of was also in his conservative bubble. Then towards the end, one of the guys that she was going back and forth with, he is Turkish American. He's Muslim. Well, he's called himself culturally a Muslim, apparently, from what I could see when I was Googling him. She was like, well, I hope your citizenship papers are good. I hope that you don't have any mistakes on that. Is that a threat, Katie? What that mean? So they probably are still going to try to push her out here, and there's going to be more faux pas. That did not go well for her at all. At all. Look at the clip. She tries to claim anti-Semitism when he called her and her husband liars. One of the guys explains, no, that goes to you all specifically in your character because y'all lie. Explained it so well, and all she could do was sit like this with her lips pursed. It was very strange, very strange. So I said, I don't think Katie had not been in the public eye before, and I think there was a reason behind that. She had a whole bunch of kids in one period of time, but I said this not going well. So Katie, go back to the podcast. But my biggest takeaway here though is you all, not you all, but people in general, These people, these women that are married to these men, they agree with them men. And each time they open their mouths, between Cheryl Hines, Melania, and whenever Usha opened her mouth as well, they all agree with their husbands. And if they don't agree, they love that power and that money and that access. They're gonna play the role. So quit trying to say them. They don't want to be saved.
Hey guys, we had a wild ride today where Stephen Miller's wife went on television and got into an argument with somebody and threatened to have his citizenship revoked, I guess. I don't know. It's wild. Here, I want to cue this up right now. We are on the Piers Morgan show. We have Katie Miller, wife of Stephen Miller, and she is on with Cenk Uygur, and things devolve quick.
Hold on. So
You better
what
check your
happened in the
citizenship
Holocaust and
application
all the
and hope everything
pogroms
was
and all the
legally correct.
pogroms were disgusting.
like Ilhan
That
Omar
doesn't
coming
mean
in.
that Israel
So, Andrew, the wife of maybe the most powerful man, certainly the most powerful unelected man in America, says that she hopes that this guy who she's angry with has all of his citizenship papers were in order, because otherwise he's going to be something like Ilhan Omar. I mean, that seems totally cool, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we are seeing just more and more now, right? I mean, it obviously very strongly reminded me of that video we saw the other day of a federal immigration official being pulled.
Stephen Miller's wife just threatened to have a political commentator deported because she lost a debate to him. His name is Cenk Uygur, and he is a naturalized U.S. citizen. She also called the same guy anti-Semitic when he pointed out that she's spreading misinformation.
Hold on. So
You better
what
check your
happened in the
citizenship
Holocaust and
application
all
and
the
hope everything was
pogroms and
legally
all the
correct.
pogroms were
You'll be
disgusting.
just like Ilhan
That
Omar
doesn't
coming
mean
in.
that
That is what happens when people who thrive on outrage finally meet someone who actually challenges their talking points. Instead of responding with facts or composure, she resorted to one of the most unhinged and authoritarian instincts imaginable, trying to use her husband's government connections to silence somebody because she lost a debate to him. Cenk responded to this perfectly, saying, "I hope I don't get deported for winning a debate. If Princess Snowflake is going to enter the arena, she has to understand there's no crying to mommy. If she asks her husband to deport everyone she loses a debate to, we're going to start running out of people." Let's just be honest, when you're threatening to deport people because they beat you in a debate or have differing political opinions, it's not just petty. It shows how normalized political intimidation has become within the MAGA movement. They don't want dialogue, they want dominance. They can't win an argument, so they have to try to erase their opponents. If this is how they react to losing a debate, just imagine how they'd handle losing real power again. Democracy relies on strong voices who stand up to this kind of nonsense, and Cenk showed us just how to do it, calmly, sharply, and without fear.
All right, I have another Miller meltdown for all of you. This time, it's not coming from Stephen Miller, but it's coming from his wife, Katie Miller, who has lately ventured into the podcasting world, tried to do more media appearances, and went on Piers Morgan Uncensored. Sorry, this screenshot right here is really funny because Cenk Uygur, I agree with him, but he's always just screaming on every panel that he's on. In this case, he actually rolls through Katie Miller. She was entirely unprepared, and I'm glad Cenk Uygur was there. We're going to run through all of this because it turns into her threatening to have Cenk Uygur deported. And then she freaks out and literally says she's going to walk off the panel. I want to dissect this for you guys. I've been on Piers Morgan Uncensored before, and she just gives me the vibe of somebody who is totally unprepared to be on TV or debate like this on TV. Number two, who is a little bit entitled and thought that, the people would just agree with her on the panel. She probably does well on Fox News. Friendly interviews are a little bit different, but being in a panel like this, I had to learn this the hard way too. You really have to assert yourself and you have to be ready for everyone to be at your neck. And she immediately gets shaken off of her train of thoughts. But before we go into her freak out, let me just compare this to her husband. Do you guys remember this clip that went viral during the campaign trail where Stephen Miller is just freaking out? I swear to you, this clip is essentially exactly how his wife freaks out.
I was just asking for figures, and you have not replied to me about those figures.
Murdered. Do you know who Kayla Hamilton
Do you
is?
trust the numbers of Nicolas Maduro? I'm asking
I
again.
trust a ruthless dictator will empty his prisons and send their criminals to our country.
Do you trust his numbers?
The most dangerous gang in Venezuela is
Do you
now
trust
occupying
Nicolas
apartment
Maduro?
buildings. I trust that he does not want his criminals to be...
So Stephen Miller was essentially starting to praise his dictator and saying that his numbers must be accurate. So the reporter asks him a few questions. And by the end of the interview, Stephen Miller is sweating and screaming at an entire group of people around him.
Donald Trump is going to be elected president, and the migrant gangs are going to be sent home. Children's lives will be saved. And you know who will benefit the most? Are the working class Hispanic communities that are besieged by gang violence.
So you don't have
public
figures.
schools that are being overtaken by migrant.
He just started screaming about random stuff. The reason I show you that is because Katie Miller goes on a very similar tirade, tantrum. First, I don't want to bury the lead here. Stephen Miller's wife threatened to have Cenk Uygur deported after she started to lose a debate to him. Cenk Uygur is a naturalized U.S. citizen. And the way she says this in such a smug, pompous way, like she knows that her and her husband are in a position of power. By the way, Stephen Miller, of course, is Trump's deputy chief of staff. Very high position of power. He's spearheading a lot of the most radical immigration policies or regressive social policies. Let's take a look at this clip.
Hold on.
Katie Miller threatened to use her husband's position to deport an American citizen. Now, I don't know if you know Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks. He got into a debate with her on Piers Morgan. Look at this clip.
Hold on. Hold on. So
You better
what
check your
happened in the
citizenship
Holocaust and
application
all
and
the
hope
pogroms
everything was
and
legally
all the
and correct.
pogroms were
You'll be
disgusting.
just like Ilhan
That
Omar
doesn't
coming
mean
in.
that
Now, please tell me, what is she talking about? How the hell is she really right here on 4K, where everybody can see her, saying, make sure that your citizen papers, da-da-da-da-da, or you're going to be just like Ilhan Omar. Are you serious? Is this what we're doing now in America? We're just having somebody who was never elected. This bitch was never, her husband was never elected. And she's saying, you can be deported? This right here is a prime example of Trump's America, where people that are bureaucrats that have no business threatening people that are doing what? Providing good factual information to the public. She lost a fucking debate and it made her melt down and go 900 degrees Karen. I'm going to have you deported. Like, what in the cuckoo bitch is this? But y'all tell me what y'all think about all this in the comments. Don't forget, check out my links in my bio, follow for more, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Hold on. So
You better
what
check your
happened in the
citizenship
Holocaust and
application
all
and
the
hope
pogroms
everything was
and
legally
all the
and correct.
pogroms were
You'll be
disgusting.
just like Ilhan
That
Omar
doesn't
coming
mean
in.
that Israel.
Why is it that every time someone wants to criticize Mamdani, it immediately comes back to the Jews and the anti-Israel movement instead of actually talking about his viewpoints, which is that he
Nobody
wants to
said
make
Jews. You just said it. You always do that. We say Israel, you say Jews. We say Israel is a government. Please don't make it about Jewish Americans. And you come back and go,
Is
you
Israel a
have to
Jewish
make it
state,
about
yes or
Jewish
no?
Americans. What's
Is
wrong
Israel a
with
Jewish
you?
state, yes
What's
or no?
wrong with you?
Is Israel a Jewish state? Yes or no?
First of all, okay, so Saudi
Israel
Arabia is a
the only
Muslim
Jewish
state,
state
and you
in
can
the entire
criticize
world,
it
yes or
all day long. There's no special protection.
Because
for
what you're
Muslims,
doing is
Jews,
you're decoding
or
language
anyone that
to
calls
mock
themselves
American
a Jewish state or a
and to
Muslim
say that we
state.
should not be here and we should not be in existence, and that you would be happy for other people like Mamdani to
No,
use
I want Israel to be
no longer
safe.
Nothing of the sort.
Nonsense. You're totally lying. It's very normal for a Miller to be completely and utterly lying.
Quite frankly, I'm really sick and tired of this racist, bigoted rhetoric that comes from people like you against my husband, against my family, and my children. I am raising Jewish children in this country.
Who brought your
in which you
children into this? What a weirdo.
Piers, I'm going to be done with this if you're going to allow racist and bigoted attacks against one of your commentators just for the sake that he will not
hang on.
speaking.
Casey, to be clear, Casey, to be clear,
He inserted a line that says
Casey,
the
hang
Miller's
on.
lie. Is that not coded language for therefore we are Jewish? Come on, Piers, where are you?
What?
Where are you standing?
God, you're so
Casey,
pathetic.
if I can speak,
Everything's your
if I
shield
can
is
speak, listen.
anti-Semite. Fire him, cancel him, cancel him,
Cenk,
America.
Cenk,
Oh my God, Israel's
Cenk,
feelings have been
Cenk.
hurt. Why don't you work for this
All right,
country?
can we try and get
this country?
Yeah, you are a guest on my show, and I appreciate you coming on the show, and I like you coming on the show.
And I'm saying
But,
the
you know,
two other
I
guests
think
on
you're
your
able
show
to.
are welcome to participate in these anti-Semitic attacks that is so permeating on CNN and MSNBC.
This is so ridiculous. I'm sorry. I have to jump in here. Somebody criticizing you personally is not an anti-Semitic attack. If somebody says that you are lying, that is not an attack on Jews, that is an attack on you. And just stop hiding behind identity. This is all the snowflake behavior that the right is supposedly criticizing the left for, that you're simply repeating here. Yes, Stephen Miller is a destructive force in American society. That is not an attack on Jews. That is no reference to his identity. This is an attack on him individually, and just deal with the merits of this case.
Hold on. So
You better
what
check your
happened in the
citizenship
Holocaust and
application
all
and
the
hope
pogroms
everything was
and
legally
all the
and correct.
pogroms were
Because you'll be
disgusting.
just like Ilhan
That
Omar
doesn't
coming
mean
in.
that Israel.
A heated exchange on Piers Morgan Uncensored has everyone talking. MAGA commentator Katie Miller suggested that Cenk Uygur could face deportation. This tension escalated when Uygur criticized Israel's military actions in Gaza. Morgan and Miller pushed back hard against Uygur's comments. Miller, married to White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, fired back. She told Uygur to check his citizenship application. Many saw this as a thinly veiled threat of deportation. Uygur, who immigrated from Turkey, became a U.S. citizen in 2021. He stood firm, arguing that criticizing Israel's government isn't anti-Semitic. Read the full story on rawstory.com.
And it's such bullshit. It's such total bullshit. As an American right now, I want my government criticized. I want the criminal that is in the Oval Office, I want him criticized. And I don't see that as an affront to me or my identity. I see that as the right moral move to make. I want Stephen Miller and Katie Miller criticized. And I don't see that as an affront to me being an American born and bred woman. And when you get to Israel, if you criticize this government, the Israeli government, and the war criminal at the top of it, Benjamin Netanyahu, if you criticize their genocide or criticize all of the lying and the propaganda that they use with the United States of America and the world at large, then you're called an anti-Semite. Everybody has to understand the following: anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, homophobia, transphobia, racism, all of these things are linked. None of us are free until all of us are free. And you cannot prioritize the rights of one group over the rights of another marginalized group. It doesn't work that way. That's not how supporting universal human rights work. And Zoran Mamdani has moral clarity on this. AOC has moral clarity on this. Bernie Sanders has moral clarity on this. And guess what they all three have in common? They can all three get triple Trumpers to cross over and vote for them. And so that's why there is this ongoing, nonstop attack on Zoran, because he has mobilized and energized the Democrats in a way that the establishment cannot. And it throws an arrow right into this narrative that Israel, the government, not the Jewish people, Israel, the government, has said you cannot trust Muslims. They are all terrorists, which is total bullshit. It is total bullshit. Extremist Muslims are every bit as psychotic as the extremist Christians that are trying to make this country a Christian nationalist regime. There is no daylight in the two of them. They call it the Christian Taliban. Where I used to live in Oklahoma City, you have preachers that call for the execution of homosexuals. Tell me how that's any different from the Israeli argument, that Israeli government argument that you can't trust Muslims because these countries want to execute gay people. Well, where I used to live, that's the way the mega church culture treats such a thing. There's no difference in any sort of religious extremist. And then you have to lump in the Israeli government as being extremely extreme. And so when you have a candidate that campaigns against that type of extremism and advocates for everybody's rights, everybody's privacy, and everybody's dignity. All right, everybody knows that Stephen Miller is a little munchkin sociopath that has a lot of inner child issues. He refuses to go to therapy. And so you wonder, like, what is his home life like? Like, what is his day-to-day like? Is there anybody in his orbit that's like, hey, bro, you kind of seem like a sociopath, like something's off with you? And the answer to that question is nobody in his orbit ever checks him, because most recently his wife, Katie Miller, has rolled out a podcast, and now she's on the press circuit. And she was on Piers Morgan last night, you guys, and she has a full blown delusional meltdown. I mean, a complete stage 5 meltdown on this show. And it shows you what happens when these people step outside of the MAGAverse and get even remotely close to reality. Their entire world view collapses, and they are snowflakes that are terrified and pissed off when things don't go their way. And they play victim as quickly as they can while making shit up and pulling shit out of thin air, acting like psychos. Play the clip.
Totally lying. It's very normal for a Miller to be completely and utterly lying.
Quite frankly, I'm really sick and tired of this racist, bigoted rhetoric that comes from people like you against my husband, against my family, and my children. I am raising Jewish children in this country.
Who brought your children into this? What a weirdo.
Piers, I'm going to be done with this if you're going to allow racist and bigoted attacks against one of your commentators just for the sake that he will not
hang on.
speaking.
Casey, to be clear, Casey, to be clear,
he inserted a line that says in the Miller's lie. Is that not coded language for therefore we are Jewish? Come on, Piers, where are you? What? Where are you standing?
God, you're so
Casey,
pathetic.
if I can speak.
Everything's your shield.
If I can speak, listen.
Fire him, cancel him, cancel him, America. Oh my God, Israel's feelings have been hurt. Why don't you work for this country?
Can we try and get
this country?
Come on, Piers, where are you? What? Where are you standing?
God, you're so
Casey,
pathetic.
if I can speak.
Everything's your shield.
If I can speak, listen.
Fire him, cancel him, America. Oh my God, Israel's feelings have been hurt. Why don't you work for this country?
Can we try and get
this country?
Why is it that every time someone wants to criticize Mamdani, it immediately comes back to the Jews and the anti-Israel movement instead of actually talking about his viewpoints, which is that
nobody said Jews. You just said it. You always do that. We say Israel, you say Jews. We say Israel is a government. Please don't make it about Jewish Americans. And you come back and go, you have to make it about Jewish Americans. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Okay, guys. So Katie Miller and Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks got into it on Piers Morgan's show. And this got, extremely explosive. And of course, just like everything in recent political news, it's about Israel. So they were talking about Mamdani, if he wins, what's going to happen in New York City. Great topic of discussion, but somehow it rolled downhill to the discussion of anti-Semitism, and it just went out of control from there. Let's take a look at the clip.
Israel a Jewish state, yes or no?
Yeah. First of all, okay, so Saudi Arabia is a Muslim state, and you can criticize it all day long. There's no special protection.
Because what you're doing is you're decoding language to mock American
Jewish state or
and
a
to
Muslim
say that
state.
we should not be here and we should not be in existence, and that you would be happy for other people like Mamdani to use
No, I want Israel to be safe.
Nothing of the sort.
Nonsense. You're totally lying. It's very normal for a Miller to be completely and utterly lying. That's not true. We want Israel to be a safe haven for Jews, 1967 borders. But you guys say, no, more Palestinian land. Take Gaza, take the West Bank, take southern Lebanon. Your greed knows no bounds. And by the way, you and your husband are supposed to be working for America, not for Israel. I think you're betraying this country.
All right, Cenk, let Katie.
Piers,
right,
if I could just jump in here on a quick note.
Omar, I'll come to you, but let Katie finish her point, then I'll come to you. Katie.
No, Piers, quite frankly, I'm really sick and tired of this racist, bigoted rhetoric that comes from people like you against my husband, against my family, and my children. I am raising Jewish children in this country.
Who brought your children into this? What a weirdo.
Piers, I'm going to be done with this if you're going to allow racist and bigoted attacks against one of your commentators just for the sake that he will not
hang on.
speaking.
Casey, to be clear, he inserted
a line that says in the Miller's lie. Is that not coded language for therefore we are Jewish? Come on, Piers, where are you? What? Where are you standing?
God, you're so
Casey,
pathetic.
if I can speak.
Everything's your shield.
If I can speak, listen.
Fire him, cancel him, America. Oh my God, Israel's feelings have been hurt. Why don't you work for this country?
Can we try and get
this country instead of Israel?
Can we try?
Okay, first of all, I don't think that Piers Morgan should be held responsible for everything that his guests say. He doesn't agree with everything that his guests say. And that's never been the case. So the fact that Katie Miller wants him to take responsibility or to kick off a guest when his show is called Uncensored, the whole idea of his show is it's a debate show where he gets people from all across politics to sit and debate and say whatever kind of crazy thing that comes to their head. So, and also, I mean, to give Cenk some credit here, I actually don't think he was trying to be anti-Semitic. I think he was taking a personal shot at her and her family, which was not good. That's a low blow. But I don't, maybe I'm just missing where that was anti-Semitic because, okay, yes, if they're Jewish, he's saying Miller's lie. As in Stephen Miller, he goes on air and lies, according to Cenk. I don't know. Yeah, did I miss something? Did he say anything about, he's talking about Israel. Of course, you can criticize Israel, you can question Israel without being anti-Jewish. That should go without saying. So I don't know if this is an overreaction or maybe I'm just not understanding something, but I want to hear what you guys think in the comments. This is starting to get a little out of hand here. But what I think is really not right is for her to expect Piers Morgan to go in and take action and take responsibility for everything that Cenk is saying. That's never been the rules here. Piers is not responsible for what his guests say. So I think that she can either choose to leave or she can address and attack right back, like she is. But she shouldn't try to get a referee involved when that's not the role that Piers is supposed to play here.
All right, can we play? All right, let's stop the ad hominem attacks. Let's try and get this back to a more civilized debate, which is actually about the likely incoming mayor of New York. Katie, I was giving you the chance to respond. If you want me to do it for you, I'm happy to do that. But normally in a panel discussion, if someone makes...
Piers,
yeah, I agree, and you shouldn't be interrupted. So, Katie, let me just ask you, separate, let's not get into ad hominem stuff. It's honestly, I think the viewers are sick of it. Let me just ask you, Katie, what is your fundamental opposition to Mamdani? Because my view of Mamdani is he's very charismatic. He's a skillful politician. He has reined back on some of the more inflammatory things. He undeniably said, the stuff he said about the NYPD would be for some people disqualifying, frankly, in a city like New York. But he's managed to come through that by reining back on some of that stuff. And he is, as Cenk Uygur rightly points out, he has a remarkable popularity with young Jewish New Yorkers. I mean, it is remarkable that for someone who people have branded anti-Semitic, a lot of Jewish New Yorkers simply don't agree. They want to vote for him. So he is what he is. I also think, as Gillian pointed out, that probably a more obvious stick to beat him with politically are his views, which are pretty socialist. And what is fascinating about this politically, looking at the totality and potentially a future general election, is if you have a progressive socialist like Mamdani who wins in New York, is that the way the Democratic Party is now going to go? And does that have any chance of winning against what would likely be another MAGA candidate in 2028? So these are big picture issues that will come out of a Mamdani victory. But from your perspective, Katie, what is your fundamental opposition to Mamdani becoming New York mayor?
I want to start off with, do you agree when your guest says that the Millers always lie? Because that's what your guest on your show just said, is that the Millers always lie. And so now I'll continue into saying Mamdani, just as you said here, is a socialist. He is someone who is going to drive New York to the bottom. I'm excited for him to win because he'll prove to every other single large city in our country that what you will see is failure, what you will see is high crime, what you will see is murders, what you will see is a prominent city in our country fall into complete disrepair, and you will see large amounts of capital and tax dollars exit the city immediately.
Well, she's right about that, right? Mamdani is a massive threat to the well-being of New York City and New Yorkers. His ideas are not new. They've been tried before many times across the world over the last 100 years. Or I guess really the first time was the Russian Revolution, the Bolsheviks in 1917, where a bunch of young radicals with the same smiling faces as Mamdani and his supporters took over and killed the Russian aristocracy and the monarchy, took over the whole country by force, fought a war, and they instituted socialism, communism, these collectivist far-left ideas by force, and we saw how it resulted, right? And then they tried it in China, then they tried it in North Korea, then they tried it in Cuba, Venezuela. Across the world, it leads to the same place every single time. And we all know this. As conservatives, as capitalists, we know what happens when the slick, smooth-talking, smiling faces of young radicals work their way into the mainstream and start to convince people that fixed rents and higher taxes on billionaires, the people who are creating all the jobs, the people who are entrepreneurs, who are taking a bunch of risk, they're taking on risk, they're taking on debt to build buildings, to build infrastructure, to build businesses, that they should be taxed more and chased out of the city, that people would be better off if everything was free, if food was free, if transportation was free, that this wouldn't lead to all kinds of other problems, homeless people on the bus if it's free, right? If just anybody can go on the bus, even if you just have a very small, affordable fare, it keeps people from just camping out there, right? Or it keeps people from camping out on the subway and just turning it into a disaster. So it's ignoring reality. It's buying completely into an
Y'all, they get along great, don't they? I just wanted y'all to hear what Stephen Miller's wife is like. Okay, I just wanted you to hear what she's like. So every time she gets it, you can see every time she gets insulted, she uses the fact of being a you as her shield against any type of verbal assault on her. That's what she used. But she's very much like Stephen Miller, isn't she? No wonder why they got married, because they're exactly alike. She's just a female version of Stephen Miller. That's all she is. Mhm. Wow. Unbelievable. But if you never heard Katie Miller before, pray you never have to hear her again. Pray you never ever have to hear her speak again. Now, before today, a few weeks ago, I had read an article and she was mentioned in it, and people that worked with her in the past said she's very difficult to work with. She petty, she argues a lot in the office, and she's always causing some kind of friction. So, I guess it is what it is. So, y'all, now that you got to hear her, let me know what you think about her in the comment section. Oh, Julie and Michael didn't even step up for her. And usually these white women try to have each other's back. And I noticed, well, Julie and Michael, she just sat quiet. She didn't say a word. She didn't say a word. I think she was disappointed that the other two guests did not step in. They didn't say anything. And the only one, then she started attacking Piers, and you can tell Piers really didn't want to get involved either, but that's his show. So he did say a few things, but if you can't handle it, the name of the show tells you what it is. It's uncensored. So yeah, people are going to go on there and say wild things. They may say things you don't like. That's why you don't have to go on every show. Now, she got a podcast that she started. I think it started like back over the summer. She started her own podcast. I don't listen to her, just listening to this bit, I don't see no reason to go listen to her at all. Mhm. Yeah, well, you saw how she spoke on slavery. She got dragged all over the place for what she said about slavery. So, oh well, and she's another one that got her own podcast. I don't listen to these women. I have no interest in listening to them at all. So, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you for being here. Do, I might have one more live coming up. I just have to put it together. So, yeah, she can give you a massive headache, that's for sure. So, everybody, I will see you later. Thank you for being here. Again, thank you for all of your support. I deeply appreciate it. Shalom, family.